Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 18th day of December 2018. Well, 18 reduces to 9, so that's completion. We thought maybe we would see a little completion in the General Flynn situation, but unfortunately, that's going to be delayed again now, I guess, until March. So, no sentencing today. The judge in question, though, took advantage a little bit, I think, of the Mars energy for today on a Tuesday, and got a little catalytic there in his courtroom. So we didn't get to find out for a little while. They went and talked about it for a while, I guess, but he was ready to go, I guess, Flynn was, but the judge decided that, they would delay it. So what I did was I ran over here and I did a quick 3-card spread, and I'll show you what I came up with. I just have it here on my iPad. I don't know if it's going to come through, though. We're going to see. Let's see if we can get it to come through. No, we don't want it to be like that. We want it to be like that. And I don't think it's going to work, is it? Maybe if I get up really close. Well, see, you can see. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll tell you what I pulled, and we'll call it good. I pulled the Eight of Cups, which is, shows an individual. Maybe I still have it. No, I already shuffled. Or did I put it at the bottom? Nope. Okay, so anyhow, I drew the Eight of Cups and I drew the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Cups. And how I'm kind of looking at this is letting go of behavior that doesn't serve you well, General Flynn, taking a chance on the wheel as it turns further on into March, that maybe things will look better for you at that time. And the Ace of Cups, there we have new emotion. And I kind of look at that in maybe a little different way, than maybe new emotions. I mean, we're looking at I'm going to look here, though. The Ace of Cups is about abundance and free-flowing Genesis, reward and riches. So I think that if he gives up on this behavior and this attitude, maybe he's going to see a better outcome for him. Maybe no jail time, maybe just, probation. But, he did some things he shouldn't have done, and he ought to have known better given his status in life, being a general and all. He knew better. He did it anyway. I am not someone who thinks he should get no jail time for that, so I don't know. That's just me, though. I think that he needs to do more than what he's done, and cooperation should just be a given and not something you do. In other words, you don't tell the truth in order to get less time. You just tell the truth. We have a funny way of looking at justice in this country. They make deals, they do all kinds of things, and it just always seems like justice is never served. People get off when they shouldn't. They don't spend any time in prison when they should. I don't know. I've never been comfortable with how our legal system is. So I thought about getting a law degree, and I ended up with a degree in psychology instead. And I think the reason why I did it is because I felt like it was a managed system, not a pure system of justice. It's one that's managed. And I don't know that justice is served that way. So maybe sometimes, but I don't know. When you can get involved the way he did in behaviors that aren't good like that, I don't know. That affect a country, I guess. That's the thing. It's not that it simply affected him. It affected all kinds of things. So I think that these guys, they do this stuff and then, oh my golly, they don't want to be responsible. Somehow they're above the law. Well, no. So I guess we have to wait a little while longer before we find out his fate. So, but at least will hopefully be one. Hopefully. Anyhow, let's count 13 and see what we have for today. We got kind of a late start here. We didn't go walking because it's raining. Last night, the winds of I don't know what, some demon wind came through. I think we had like gusts up to, they were forecasting gusts up to like 65 miles an hour, which, I mean, that happens here on the high desert. It's not like it doesn't, but it's always disturbing when it's all night long and you can't really sleep for all of the noise. So anyhow, we didn't go today. We were watching the Flynn thing, and so got a little bit of a late start this morning. So apologies for that. Let's do 13 and see what we have. Well, we got the King of Pentacles, another king. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw another card. I do that. If you've never been here before, welcome. And if you've been here before, then you know what I'm going to say. Anytime I pull a court card, I always pull another one. Court cards can be about the type of individual on the card, or it can be the qualities therein. So they often need something to interact with. And so if I get a court card, I just draw another one. That we get a little bit more information. Well, okay, so I got the King of Pentacles, kind of surrounded by, looks like abundance. This always looks like fall to me, though. But I don't think it is. No, they're grapes, so that indicates abundance. You see some mushrooms down here in the corner. That's nice. You see the ram's heads, looks like. They look like it's not a very clear picture, though. And I think that that's always what's disturbed me about this particular rendition of the King of Pentacles, is that it's not clear. And it tends to, in the Five of Swords, it tends to reinforce that lack of clarity. Here you have a scene where you've got one guy who seems like he's trying to get away with something. Maybe he's the victor, in this situation. Maybe he's just trying to clean up after his friends because they're all bereft. You've got some that look like they're covered in blood, although that could be just some kind of a leather deal over him there. But you got the other one there who's right next to the water's edge, and he's holding his head. The other one is looking at him, it looks like. So you see the brown, sketchy clouds in the sky, the choppy water. Clearly, there's either been a battle of words or just a battle of some kind. And basically what we have here is the five designates change. There's no numbers associated with the king. Although if you did, it would be 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 would result in, would reduce again to 5. So this actually would, if you were to ascribe numbers to them, which most people don't, but you can, just to see if there's some kind of energetic alignment numerologically. And here we have that with the 5. So the king, though, I have to tell you, kings bother me anyway. I'm not really comfortable with misogynistic authority figures, and so the kings are that to me. But the King of Pentacles, discs in other coins and also in other decks. He's a traditional landowner guy. He's like a land baron, more so even maybe than a king. He's industrious. He works hard for what he has. He's not particularly showy unless you're looking at all those grapes that surround him. There's a little bit of showiness. He's self-disciplined and he's powerful, and he's responsible and he's steadfast. But here you have, but was there change to get him there? Was it a realization at some point that, I can't continue along this way, or what? But we still don't have a very clear picture. of how he got to where he is or what this change might have to do with things. You know, maybe if you get your ducks in a row and you're no longer going to deceive or lie or what have you, because here, when you're looking at swords, you always have the potential for conflict, for our mouths, in other words, to get us into trouble, to either overthink things or to get into these drama triangles. And given that it's a five and not an even number, it's an odd number, I tend to look at that in terms of friction, and whereas the even numbers more harmony. And so, you might look at the odd numbers as being more ego driven and the even numbers being more spirit driven. You could look at it that way. It doesn't always play out that way, but I kind of take that as a sort of a foundation there. But you're wondering what it is about this five of swords that got the king to the place that he's in. I mean, he almost looks like he's pensive. Yesterday we had the King of Cups as the third card that I drew, and he also looks aloof and pensive and just kind of, not really, the focus really isn't on the situation at hand. That may be what's going on here. That may be what's going on here. You can just see he's kind of almost looking down at the coin in his hand, the pentacle that's in his hand, there in his left hand, isn't he? Clearly, he's very established in his kingdom, in his power, in his wealth, even. But it seems to be opposite in a way. Either it was change of an intellectual nature or reason that brought him there, or if we start looking at this in terms of progression, maybe there's some intellectual stuff that's about to disturb his comfort zone. So let's count 13 again and see if we have something else that can point us in the direction. 7, 8, 10. Well, again, we have the 8 of Pentacles, and this just is a guy who's working diligently on his craft, building his wealth. Essentially, you can see that it's stacking up. So that's kind of a tough one, isn't it? If we look at 8 and 5, that's 13. If we add another 5 to that, so that would be 18 and 9. That would correspond with today. Did I do that right? If we look at this as a 5, and this is 5, so that's 10, that's 1, and yeah, so that would be 9, that's completion. So maybe we have a sense of completion today. Maybe we shouldn't look at the king as an individual as much as it is how we're balancing our intellect with maybe our foundation of who we are, maybe letting our intellect inform a little bit more. I'm just bothered by this 5 of swords, because what did he do to get there? It just seems like this is at odds with these two. These seem to be very settled, very progressive, building wealth. Let's take a look here in the grimoire then about the 5 of swords, and let's just see if there's something I have written down here that maybe will give us a little bit more. Allowing emotions to guide over reason, focusing on illusion and the conquest of others. That can interfere with a settled lifestyle, can't it? The 5 of Swords is talking about self-defeating behavior. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because the self-defeating behavior in the case of General Flynn is going to get in the way of him building whatever legacy that he has. This could be the anomaly. Well, let's bring this back up. I think I just, no, not that one. That one. There we go. All right. Now it's back up. I hope it didn't blank out. I don't think it does because the camera was still on. But in any event, this is when it goes awry, isn't it? Here you have consistency, about a focus on doing for others, even not just the self, because the king has the kingdom in the background. You can see that this legacy that the guy over here in the 8 is building is likely for other people as well. So it's, what legacy do you want to bring? What legacy do you want to create in terms of your wealth and your whole foundation for life? And then do you go and screw it up by doing this? At the heart of jealousy and slander and defeatist behavior is a self-oriented focus. And so maybe you're going along and you're doing what you're supposed to do in life, and then all of a sudden you do something that maybe isn't even who you really are, or have been throughout your life. But something inside of you made you break with that tradition and made you go a different direction. And now it's causing you some problems. So I think that the message then, in terms of the cards, is to do whatever you can do to bring that foundation back into focus for yourself. Um, if you're experiencing judgment, or if you yourself are being judgmental, if you're being jealous, or you're trying to interfere with somebody else's, happiness and success, knock it off. Or you may just be experiencing some of that in your life, where there's a little bit of conflict with others, on an intellectual basis, in terms of communication. Maybe you've just experienced, maybe somebody is just trying to slander you in your life, uh, saying that you're doing things that you're not doing. Or maybe they're just telling the truth about some things you've been doing. Who knows? But in a sense, you have a notion of conquest over others here. So in other words, are you trying to get away with something? This one, as well as the 7, although the 7 I look as theft of intellectual property, it's almost like they're trying to get away with something. But it's so opposite from what you're seeing here. So it's like when somebody, and I keep coming back to Flynn, because here you had somebody with a storied career, and I mean, you're going to have people that are going to say, well, maybe not so much. Well, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know about that. All I know is that when you reach those levels in the military, when you work in a cabinet, because he did before, I don't know if it was a cabinet position though with the Obama administration, but I mean, maybe it was, but he had all of this stuff that he built up, this legacy that he built up for himself. And then in one moment, he decided to do something else. And that's what this feels like. It's like you build, 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 and then you go and you take a left turn somewhere, and, something goes wrong in your life. And now you're going to have to deal with it. So that's how I think I see this. So whether it's, Mr. Flynn, or whether it's something that's happening in our lives, take a look at what can interfere with the legacy you're trying to build. Whether it's just the type of person that you are, if you're a really kind person and suddenly you start acting out and you're not being so nice to people, sit back and figure out what's going on. If suddenly people are saying things about you that aren't true, well, are you advancing in something? Are you building something that they're jealous of? Is it easily understood? Or is it not? Have you actually done something inadvertently, or by choice, that has tried to chip away basically at who you've established yourself to be? So, you don't want to have a whole bunch of anomalies going on in your life. You really don't. You want to try to maintain some level of consistency, even if you're consistently chaotic. At least you know what you're looking at. But this, you're trying to figure out, okay, what just happened there? So, and it doesn't feel good. The other two feel better, even the king. And I'm not a fan of kings. So, anyhow, we're looking at Dagaz as the rune for today. And the interesting about Degas, and I'm going to get my rune grimoire out to say this right because I wrote it down, but it's and hopefully I can remember it without looking. But it's energy coming to its saturation point or reaching a saturation point, then becomes its opposite. Now you can look here and you can see Gebo in here. You can see the X in the middle, and that's balanced energy exchange. You can see on either side of that, if you take the ends off of it, you can see Kenaz, the torch, enlightening both ways. You see a sense of progression here with this, but it's about a new day. It's about enlightenment. So, are we going to get a little enlightenment here about what this is all about? Um, I think that it's possible. Now, Enterprise is an interesting rune of the Elder Futhark. Some people put it as the last one. Some people put Othala. Traditionally, I think it's Othala. But I think that the reason why it's a little confusing is because it's almost like you've reached the end to something new. But Othala brings us to a conclusion. So I kind of went back and forth, and I finally put it back to the way I originally learned it, with Othala being at the end. But if we look at it as the 23rd, again, you're looking at numerologically, it's a 5, so change again, so that reinforces our theme today of change, being the catalytic factor. There has to be a change in thinking in order that our legacy continues. Degas is a water element rune, but yeah, it's the completion of the energy exchange of Gebo. So, and you see the completion by the two ends there, the two lines at the end surrounding Gebo. So we complete Gebo, that energy exchange, total light, total enlightenment. So there'll be the end of one phase, the beginning of another. But here, yeah, energy at its saturation becomes its opposite. So maybe we've gotten a little ahead of ourselves. Our intellect has not served us well, and we've made some decisions and some choices that have affected our foundation and have affected our security in life. And so now, things might feel a little sketchy to us, and we don't really know what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, a new day is upon us, and the chance to make another decision, a chance to let our intellect settle down and maybe see the bigger picture that an earth element would bring in. And when we talk about pentacles, we're talking about the earth element, and so we need that Mother Earth energy to kind of say, hey, knock this stuff off. You've gone in a wrong direction here. You've done something now that's affected your legacy. So let's not let the mouth run amok. Let's not let the choices run amok. I don't know if I said this earlier or mentioned it earlier, but his attorneys decided to write a letter stating that, or a memo stating that, hey, yeah, he's pleading guilty, but he kind of got coerced into this, and some funny business went on. Well, no, it didn't. And so, all that did, and maybe that's what this is, but all that did was stop the process today, which maybe needs to happen. You could argue maybe there's more to talk about. Maybe there's more cooperation that could be had. But at the same time, what's happened here is they did something that threw a wrench into things, that caused a problem. Basically, they slandered, okay, if you want to look at this as slander, they slandered the FBI, is how you could see this. And they said things that really weren't true. They wanted to cast a picture so that maybe the sentence would be 0. Well, the sentence probably was going to be 0 till they did that. And so, maybe that's what this is. It's just a lesson for all of us to learn that, sometimes you just got to let the process continue and go and do what it needs to do. And don't try to get cute about it. Don't try to, have the last word necessarily. All right. And that seems to be what that felt like to me when I first heard about it. And so today, it kind of seems like the bigger message for all of us is to focus on that legacy we want to leave behind. And don't let decisions that we make interfere with that, because it could cause you all kinds of grief that you don't need. and could threaten whatever it is you've tried to build all along the way. So that would be the enlightenment that I hope, at least for General Flynn, when this finally resolves itself. I hope that some enlightenment has taken place and he truly understands, where he went wrong in all of these decisions that he made, and hopefully on the other side of this, he can start rebuilding his life. And if anybody's experiencing this sort of thing, you can understand how, you know, doing something like that's extreme like this can really interfere with your own security, your own financial security alone can be affected by this if you're not taking a look at the bigger picture and you're just running your mouth. So anyhow, that's kind of interesting. Today being a Tuesday, that's a Mars influenced day. So you're looking at you're looking at impulse control, a lack of impulse control. So maybe we saw a little bit of that in the outburst from the judge. So I don't know. But I think we can all learn a lesson from that. And maybe we're, heading to some completion here with all of this. That would be nice, because this has all been very debilitating and stressful on the American people, no matter where you come down on this. So anyhow. Well, that's very cool. So the lunar transits for today are up on the blog. I did those, and I'm not sure if I'm going to write today or not. I might. We'll see how it goes. We've got some running around we have to do out there in the storm that's happening here. I think the winds are supposed to stay high until, I don't know, sometime this afternoon, I guess. So hopefully everything's still intact out there and nothing's blown away. I haven't heard. My husband was out feeding the chickens and he didn't say, so everybody must still be there, and the big winds didn't blow my chickens away. And he says that they tend to go on one side of it. See, our chicken coop is right next to one of our big ponds, and so what we did is we put a barrier up of branches and stuff that we hit when we pruned some trees. We did a barrier right there to try to break the wind from coming across the pond and onto the house. And so we stuck our chicken coop there, and the run is right there. And so what they do in the wind, he says they'll just go right up next to the berm that's there now, and they get out of the wind that way. You'd think they'd just go into their awesome chicken house that my husband built, but no. I think that's probably built better than our home. So, worst case, we can go live in the chicken coop if something happens to our house. It's better built, either that or we have a container. We could go in there too. So anyhow. So thanks so much for stopping by. We'll be back again tomorrow. If you haven't been here before, click subscribe. If you have and you haven't clicked subscribe, please do. I'd love you to do that. Check out the blog, Stepping Aside, and I'm steppingaside.com. There's always something new on there to look at. And again, be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.